Welcome back to the Mid Am Podcast. We are your host. I'm Tyler Munns, and on the other side of the screen from me is my good friend Nathan Furumasu.
Hello.
And tonight, we thought we would talk about our recent trip to Bandon Dunes. I actually wasn't supposed to be. Actually, Nathan, why don't you introduce kind of the entire concept of the trip, because I wasn't supposed to be a part of it.
Sure. So, my buddy Logan basically started out with texting a handful of guys and saying, "Hey, I want to do a informal sort of birthday trip to Bandon Dunes." He'd been for the first time just recently earlier this past winter, and obviously fell in love. He's an Oregonian. He'd never been. And so now he's like, I gotta go. So he wanted to go back and play some more of the courses. So there was a little group text going on. One of the other guys renamed the group text thread to Abandon Par or Abandon Hope or something like that. It's a reference to like Dante's Inferno, where the sign over the entrance to hell says, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." And it was a funny thing. And then in the text thread, it got to going like, "Oh, Abandon Par sounds kind of cool." Like as a concept, we feel like that can resonate with a lot of golfers in today's day and age. And then also it sounds cool. And then it was like, "Oh, I can't believe no one has this handle. I can't believe no one has this domain name." And so we're like, "Oh, well, shoot, let's just run with it for fun. Why not? It's a hoot."
And Logan is a pretty gifted filmmaker. So
yeah, he's been doing doing like filmmaking and branding and stuff for, gosh, I think like a better part of a decade now, if not more. And so it was like, cool, let's just do content stuff for kicks and giggles. We had a fourth who just had some stuff come up and couldn't make it. And so last minute we were kind of scrounging for somebody to fill the slot. And I was like, well, I know this guy. He's all right. And I talk with him about golf sometimes. And shot you a text, and you can take over from there, I guess.
So what had happened was it was the same weekend that I was supposed to go to the Phoenix Open.
Yes.
And I had got to the airport at like 3 a.m. for my 5:15 flight. And I was going to check my clubs because I was going to play on Monday down there in Phoenix. And, I got there 2 hours plus early so that I could check my bags. And I I stood in the line with about 180 other people at 3 a.m. at the American luggage check desk. And there was one person working the desk, and I was in that line for 90 minutes. By the time I got up to the desk, they had, I missed the 45-minute window to check my bags. And so I wasn't going to be able to get on the flight. And just the way that everything worked out, it was like, they weren't going to be able to get me out until the next morning, which means I would have maybe caught a few hours of the tournament. And so it was going to cost me, it ended up like still costing me money not to go to Arizona, but like it was just going to be not worth the hassle to go there to like be at the tournament for 3 hours and then have to figure all the other stuff out. And so I just like cut and run and went home, and I was like super bummed, and then I got it. And then, Nathan left me a voicemail saying like, "Hey man, like this might be a little bit of a reprieve from your tough weekend, but we got an extra spot. Do you want to go?" And I was talking to my wife because we'd had some Valentine's Day plans that the weekend. And I just go, "Hey, look, like I'd like to go, but like I'm also totally fine saying no." And she was like, "No, you're gonna go." So she was very gracious in that. And so yeah, I was like, "Hell yeah, man, I'm in." So we it was like a week's notice, and I was able to kind of just make it work. So drove down rather, I guess. Saturday morning, we all did.
Yep.
And met out at the range there. It was the first time I had the opportunity to meet Logan and James, which was fun. And then we went out and played trails, which ended up being kind of an eventful day.
That
So
was it was a a story filled day.
yeah, learned some stuff. Learned a lot about tonic water and
Yeah.
its healing properties.
You know,
Uh,
much like his time in puberty, Tyler learned a lot about his body
I
that
sure
day.
did. I
There were
sure did.
changes,
Yeah, yeah.
new sensations.
Was yeah, became acutely aware of my own mortality and impending,
Yes, yes.
impending exit from this earth, and that my body is getting older and breaking down.
I think it was
Um,
my wife was joking about, man, he's really niching down into that whole like mid-am life.
that's right, dude. I did it for the brand. I
That's
did it for
right,
the brand, man.
for the pod.
Uh, yeah, so it wasn't super so to put it into context, because this will come up in a little bit, but I think Bandon and just the Pacific Northwest in general has received like not record rainfall, but pretty dang close. I think in the Portland metro area we've received about double the average rainfall in like January, February. Um, December was pretty wet. November was pretty wet.
Yeah.
So I overheard one of the starter or something saying that they had 36 inches of rain in like the last 8 weeks or something like that.
Oh, I
Maybe.
heard like 42 or something. Even like
Yeah,
either way,
it
a
was a
lot of
lot of
rain.
rain in a very short amount of time. And so like just like I saw plugged balls out of Bandon, which is, if you know anything about Bandon Dunes and just the fact that it's built on sand dunes and the drainage is as good as it could be of any golf
Yeah.
course anywhere. To see plugged balls there was it was I've been there a few times. I've never ever seen anything like
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah, I'd
um
not seen like standing water on the course before, and I mean I've played all of them there, and that was like every course that we played had some definite soggy patches.
oh, we had to take relief, which
Yeah,
I just don't ever remember having to do. So but we got fortunate the first 14 holes, 15 holes on trails. Um
yeah. I mean we caught great weather for the whole weekend, really.
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
for
Really
February
wasn't
at
bad at
Bandon,
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. uh,
So I started out. I've never played trails. That was one of two courses that I haven't played, or I guess three courses actually that I haven't played yet.
mhm.
And so I figured we'd just maybe go through scorecards
Yeah,
and
I mean, I was just gonna kind of bow out of this first round pretty much. I did nothing really all that special, all that stellar. I
mhm,
don't think I really even recall a whole lot of the round. I had some realizations about like trails as a course, because
mhm,
Logan hasn't played all the courses. James had never played any of them, so there was a lot of the conventional talk of, oh, what's your favorite Bandon course and why, and why people rank them, and
yeah,
kind of talking about the different designs. James is a little bit of a he's getting into kind of the nerdy
yeah.
side of golf course
He's a nerd, man.
architecture, and he loves it.
That was fun.
Um, yeah. So it was neat to kind of to recontemplate those things as you're playing again and seeing a course again. So yeah, I mean, I have a couple thoughts on trails as a course, but my round itself, it was an 84. It was pretty just lackluster, rusty all around. It was my first like full 18 hole round of 2024, so I really wasn't expecting stellar scoring. Um, my one standout thing, I think I birdied hole 8, which was, I got to cross off the first
There we go.
mark on
That's
the
great.
birdie tracker, and yeah, it was good. I stuck a wedge to, I don't even remember, like 2 feet or a foot, something like that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
close. It was tight. It was a little kick in birdie, so that's always nice. But anyway, from there, I was just gonna kind of step back and say, all right, give me the
yeah.
give me
An
the
eventful.
rundown.
Yeah, this was an eventful round for me. So I
It
started with
started
a
off
bogey.
like any other day.
Yeah, I started off with a bogey, um, and then I went on to par. Um, or what did I do? What did I do? Oh no, I bogeyed 9. So I started off with a bogey. No, I didn't. Oh my god, dude. Oh no, wait, no, I did. What did I do? Sorry, I'm looking at this. Where did I bogey another hole?
It was 2.
I didn't. Oh, I did. Yeah, that's right. I started bogey,
Yeah.
um, which was whatever. It was fine. And then from 3 through 9, I hit every single green and I parred every single hole. And that's not necessarily interesting because I'm a decent player. I'd say it's somewhat interesting because Trails is kind of tough and I'd never played the course before. So that
Yeah.
was somewhat interesting. But what was really interesting was like right around the third hole, I started feeling like a little twinge in my back. And I've had like a rib out or whatever, and I know what that feels like. And normally it's like it's very uncomfortable, but it's certainly something I can manage and
Hmm.
kind of like whatever live with, and I can certainly golf with it. It just sucks, I know that it works itself out. But as I kept going along, and I would like take a breath, like it was like a boa constrictor was constricting around my torso, and it was reducing my capacity to take a full breath with every breath that I took to where I got to the point where I like the deepest breath that I could take was like
Yeah.
like
It was.
and I'd never experienced that in my life. And Nathan was like, "Oh, you're having back spasms." I'm like, "No, man, it's not spasmy. This is just a constant knife in the side." And he goes, that's what that is." I'm like, "Well, they need to rebrand because that's not what spasm means to me." But yeah, so like I was experiencing a back spasm to the point where like I really could only if I crouched down and if I like squatted down in a catcher stance and put my head kind of between my knees, I could take like half a breath. And so like I would
Yeah.
take a few steps, crouch down, take as many breaths as I could, stand back up. Nathan tried to give me like an on-course adjustment.
Oh, I
Um,
did. I mean, I
oh, you
did.
did. Yeah,
It
I
was on the
just
tee
like
box. It was like the tee box of hole four. We're walking up to hole four. I think it is, right? No, even
yeah.
hole three.
Yeah, it was 3, I
No,
think.
three. Yeah.
No,
So
it was
it was
yeah,
four.
maybe.
Four.
Yeah, it
So
was
somewhere
4.
between the green of three and the tee box of hole four, we're all walking along, and all of a sudden Tyler gets like really quiet and kind of we refer to it at my work as like or in my line of work jokingly is like people go into their pain cave and it's like they kind of recede into themselves and like
Yeah. Oh,
they're
100%.
not present externally anymore. And you were like head down, really leaning on the click gear and
Yeah.
like and
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 Logan made a joke
Logan's
later.
like
He was like, "Dude, I didn't know what was wrong." He was like, "The hill wasn't that like it wasn't that big
yeah
of a hill."
yeah yeah. And I'm like, I turn back and I look and I'm like, you okay? And you're like, yeah, and I was like, well, here, let me like, let's see if we can head it off the pass. Cause sometimes with back spasms and like, if you address it right away, you can get it to kind of like, you can like nip it in the
Chill.
bud.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case for you. You were too far gone, unfortunately.
I was hurting, dude. But
Yeah.
the weirdest part was like I could take a full swing, zero pain. It
Yeah.
was when I stopped and tried to breathe. Is when I was like, it was like unbearable,
Yeah.
and I was starting to hyperventilate and get very nauseous and a little dizzy,
Yeah.
because I was just trying to suck in air. Um,
Yeah.
but I kept
Yes.
parring. I kept hitting
It was it
fairway,
was
green.
it was textbook golf, which was so disgusting.
It was
Um, and it was like the progression from hole four to like hole five was like all of a sudden it was like, oh no, this is not going away. And it's like because you were like, I think if I could just keep moving, like I'll walk it off, it'll be all right. And then like hole five comes along, it's like it's not going away.
yeah.
And by hole six, like James, Logan, and I are all sort of sharing looks to one another, like, are we gonna have to call somebody and like
Oh, dude,
get Tyler carted off this course?
by 7, I was like, dude, I don't want to have to do this. Like, but
Yeah.
I think I might have to call the pro shop and have someone come and grab me.
Yeah.
And so like,
And
I made a miraculous well, actually I had almost a phenomenal birdie. I like
yeah.
pushed my drive right and I had like a hunt because it was like 406 hole. But it was playing a little farther back. I mean, it was like a probably 420 ish. And
Yeah.
I had like, I like straight blocked my drive right, and I had like 190 over a bunker to carry, and I like hit this like little cut 7 wood that ended up like 15 feet from the cup. I almost made the birdie putt, but the entire time I'm like dying, like I'm in so
Yeah.
much pain. And then I parred 8, and
Well,
then
well, don't fast forward too much because the tee box of 8 is the scene of the crime where, if you follow Tyler on Instagram or me or anything like
oh
that,
yeah,
that's where
that's right.
there's now a body outline on the tee box of
The chalk.
8. Chalk outline.
That's right.
And
So I was
he
like
went
a minute from well, no, because the hole before you were like, do you want to take a break? I was like, no, let's just keep going, because like we were the guys behind us had been on our ass because there were only 3 of them and they had 2 caddies.
Yeah.
And so they'd been riding us the entire day. And so I was like, no, I want to keep up. I want to keep up. And so then we get to 8 tee box, and thankfully Nathan
Lo
insisted, or was it
Yeah.
Logan? I don't know.
Well,
Some of
no,
you guys insisted.
Logan and James went to the turn stand
Turn
that's over
stand, that's
there,
right.
and I was like, we're gonna let those guys play through. They're already hitting up, like they're already on the green. They're walking up, and you're like, okay. And then I'll like I look off, and then the next thing I know, I look back, and you're like down on the ground, like hats off, glasses are strewn about. Like I don't know, but I feel like your pants were probably
I'll put
undone.
the picture. I'll put the picture up. This is a good reminder that we put these on YouTube. So if you want to see it, I'll put the picture up of, yeah, I am laying down. Well, and then what Nathan had told me to do was, he was like, well, try to fire
Mhm.
all the muscles on the left side of your body. He's like,
Yes,
crunch
yes,
down in this way, and fire all the muscles on the left side of your body to
yes.
try to get your brain to release the right side of your body. And
Yeah.
so I'm in this weird, like, yeah, I mean, it looks like one of those old timey murder scene chalk outline dead guy on the
Yeah.
ground thing. Yeah, my
Yeah.
glasses and my hat were next to me. Um,
All
and
right,
I'm
hot
just
tip.
like
Yeah. Go ahead.
fighting.
No, yeah. Yeah, hot tip for all of us mid-ams out there who experience back pain and things like that. And as we're getting older, playing golf and different athletic endeavors, this is called reciprocal inhibition. It's a fancy term, but basically, it's like how trainers and whatnot, like sideline on at football games or soccer games or whatever, they'll like kind of calm down a big cramp or something like that. You shorten up the spasming side of a joint or whatever muscle. Like that's why you see them like put their heel to the butt of the player or something like that, and then you forcibly try and contract the other side, and so your nervous system kind of like engages one and sort of
Relaxes the
down
other.
regulates the other. So it's kind of a weird thing to try and do with like your back and your ribs and stuff like that. So Tyler was having to like kind of crunch one way and then like try and bend the other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just ended up
Shorten the
looking,
right side, but then like contract and crunch into the left side. It was a very interesting like
yeah.
position that I was in.
Yes.
And then Logan and James got me some Tylenol, some ibuprofen, and then the gal at the turn stand, who's super kind,
Mhm.
she gave it to us no charge. Because I guess she took a rangefinder out and saw me laying down on the tee box and took pity on me.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah. That's why she
oh,
gave it to
man.
us for free, because she looked at me and was just like, "Oh, that guy's going through it."
He's in a bad way.
And so she told him, she's like, "Hey, take this tonic water. Like when I have back spasms
Yeah.
or whatever, when my back hurts, like I drink tonic water and it helps." I don't know if it helped
Mhm.
because I took Tylenol and ibuprofen in one gulp, and I was
I don't know,
doing
man.
the thing, and I drank the tonic water. Um, but eventually it cleared up, or it started to
It
kind of relax,
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
point where I could at least walk. And then by like the 16th hole, I felt like an idiot because I'm like, I didn't feel it anymore. And I was like, God, I just, in my mind, I'm like, what an overreaction. But I'm like, no,
Like,
I
what
literally
happened?
could not take like any semblance of a breath. And I was starting to get like very dizzy. So that was
Yeah.
bizarre. But so I ended up 2 over. I bogeyed the first 2, and then I parred the next 7, like fighting for my life essentially. And then um oh, so yeah, well, that was the funny part, is I hit 7 greens in a row, and then I started the back 9 hitting 3 more greens in a row. So I went 10 greens in a
Yeah.
row, which
Yeah.
I was just like out of my mind. And then so my favorite hole on the course was 11.
Mhm.
I really like that long kind of par 4 down the hill. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hit a freaking incredible, I hit such a good drive because it's like I think we were kind of closer to that 440 number.
Yeah.
And I hit such a good drive, and I had 100. Well, I thought I had 190 yards in. Turns out I had 155 yards in, and I absolutely pured a 4-iron, and then to like the very back of the green. So I had like a 70-foot putt, which was annoying. So I ended up 3-putting. Um, but then I bounced. Oh, and then 12 was 235
Oh yeah,
dead into the wind.
that was amazing.
I ripped a 3-wood to 4 feet. Um, but the
It
putt
was
had a foot of break on it. So I had to aim it probably 8 inches, 12 inches outside of the hole. Maybe not 12, but probably 8 inches outside of the hole. And I just could not get my brain to trust to hit that putt hard enough to get it to make the putt from that
that
short of a
was
distance.
that was such a good tee shot for you. Not only was it just because it's a long par 3 and you like hit it to an like super tight, but like I don't do you even hit your 3-wood like 240 normally? That was like a
No,
two club wind, and somehow you still got like
I,
full yardage. You
I,
nutted it.
I ripped it, and it was
Yeah.
low. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it got 30 feet off the ground.
Yeah. But
So it ended up
it
just
didn't
being
like
perfect.
run up. It didn't run up though. It wasn't like
No, it hit
a
it kind of
worm
hit
burn
the
or anything.
front third of the green, and
Yeah.
then like kind of finished just like 4 feet. I mean, for a minute we thought it was going to go in because it was
It
tracking, and then it
was
just kind of
tight. Yeah.
tailed off at the end. But I missed that putt, which was annoying.
Hmm.
And then I ended up bogeying the next, and then I went and then I parred 14, which is the picturesque. Well, you get up there and you can see everything. You know, you look out towards the right and you see everything, and there's that nice bench
Hmm.
and plaque. But then like the hole is actually to the left. I personally wasn't a huge fan of that hole, and I think a
I
lot of
don't
people
like it.
really like 14. That was probably one of my least favorite holes on the course
Yeah.
from like a design, a playability aspect. Wasn't a
Yeah.
big fan of that one.
I was a little disappointed in myself. Had just read like the Dream Golf book, and he was super like jazzed about going and seeing like the property and the history to it, and that's the hole with the tee box. That's the spot, right, that Mike Kaiser saw and like looked out over everything. And we got up to the tee box and we did it. I was like, "Hey James, this is the hole." Blah blah blah. We turn around to go like hit, and I'm like, "I hate this hole." I was
Yeah.
like, and I just dumped on it. I was like, because it doesn't matter what you do, you end up down there. It's
Yeah.
just not a good hole. It's just bleh. Um, I think it's just extreme, and so people either like it's just nothing. People have never
I
seen
think
something like that, and so they're just
the
like,
view up there is
yeah,
unbelievable, but like
yeah,
like actually playing down to the hole, I don't know. It's just
yeah.
not really. It's kind of okay. I just
Yeah.
didn't.
I
It
think
didn't vibe
well,
with me.
it's got things where it's like it kind of tricks people. Like it gives a lot of people the idea that they could maybe drive the green on this short par 4, but in actuality, like you're not hitting this green. And I
No,
know there's going to be people who listen to this and go, "Well, I did," But statistically, go hit 100 balls off that tee box. Like you're
you're
not
not. Yeah,
you're not hitting more than 5 on that green. Like it's just not built to actually be played that way, but it kind of looks like it is, and it sort of
it's
tempts you,
inviting.
and it rolls out so far down that hill that you're kind of like, oh man, I got so close. But no, you can't. You can't. What you can do is pump it left into the trees like I did on
That's
top of
right.
the hill,
That's right.
but then have a tasty little 70-yard wedge up onto the green, and you're
That
fine.
was such a good shot. Yeah.
That was a really good shot.
Um. So yeah, and then I parred 15. I birdied 16. Hit my wedge like ended up playing 3 clubs because it's way uphill, wet into the wind. Or no, yeah, I think it was a little into the wind. But I
Yeah.
hit my third shot to like a foot. It was sweet.
Yeah.
And then 17, I just like tugged it a little bit and just put it into the face of a bunker, and just nothing I
That
could
was
do.
yeah, that was a tough scene.
So I doubled.
That
That
was
was
one where you look at it when you walk up and you go, well, that's double or worse. So
Yeah. I just said, "Hey man, I just got to make 5 here. Like I just have
yeah,
to don't do
yeah,
worse than a 5." So that's what I did, and I made 5, which was about as good as I could do. And then and then par 8, kind of an easy par 18 for
Yeah,
what I deemed as the best 76 of my life. 36 putts, 14 greens, 12 fairways, like hit the ball well. It was my Michael Jordan flu game.
dude. I mean,
Yeah, I'll remember that
having
one
not
for a while.
having not played the course before, I mean, that's definitely a stellar score.
Yeah, it was solid. And a
Yeah.
4-foot birdie putt missed.
Yeah, yeah. Then that kind of relates to my thoughts on trails. Like we already just talked about hole 14, but then also like as we are going through, I was thinking about like, oh yeah, hole 11, where'd it go? Oh no, I don't remember. But like the thing about trails, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know more about course design than Corin Crenshaw, because that'd be a real stupid take. Um, and I'm not saying that this is bad even necessarily, but it's why I like other courses on the property more than trails. Is like trails doesn't offer you choices. I don't feel like. I feel
No,
like the way that the holes are structured, it's like you hit it over here and
they
it
give you
funnels
the
down into
script.
that area. It's there. And then you got to make it happen from there. Which kind of reminds me of other Corin Crenshaw courses now that I've like thought back on it. Like Sand Valley can be that way a little bit on some of the holes where it's like it's there in front of you. This is where it's going to be and you got to make it happen, which is a cool challenge. But I tend to prefer courses where like there's different routes you could take to
Choose your
really
own
get to the
adventure.
hole. Yeah, and it's a little bit more like not creative, but like it's you could just kind of piece it together a little bit more. Um, and trails is not that way at all. And I was thinking that because I was like, man, we are all in the same area off
Yeah.
a lot of these tees,
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, cool, I guess.
Yeah,
Not my
there's
thing.
certainly a script at trails, and if you stick to the script, like you're gonna play well. If you don't, you're not like you're gonna have a very very difficult time. Whereas you get into some of the other courses, and it's like, yeah, is there probably like an optimal way to play the course? Certainly, but
Sure.
you can figure like there are other ways to be successful.
Yeah.
Um, but that just didn't seem, and I got the same vibe. It just didn't seem like that was really the case on trails. So like from my
Yeah.
perspective, it's not, I mean, it's a cool course. It's obviously like the least linksy, I think, of the courses there. But and I think that's also one of the reasons it's kind of tough. Like
Yeah.
especially because you are dealing with, to a certain extent, the conditions, and that's what makes links golf difficult, or can make it difficult. And so when you add in like this almost parkland style target golf thing, which I mean, like there are definitely, it's a little bit more target golf. I would actually say it's quite a bit more target golf
Mm.
um, than all the other courses. When you introduce that plus the conditions, like that course can play tough. And so, yeah, I wasn't my favorite. I mean, it's still a wonderful course. I was
Yeah.
very grateful to have the opportunity to play it, but yeah, I would pick other courses to play um, over that one.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I do think, however, and I said this as we were talking that evening or something, like I think it is a really good um entry into the property. Like if you've never played anything at Bandon before and you've not played a ton of link style golf, the
Oh
fact that
yeah,
it is kind of a crossover makes it a really good like
that's a good
uh,
transition course for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's because you can still like you have to take into account a lot of undulation and you have to take into account a lot of rollout, like you do in link style play. But it's still kind of like bumpers you around the course and kind of and sort of herds you into certain routing on the holes. So yeah, it's a good kind of like middle of the road. And then we jumped like our next round was the complete opposite in my
Yeah,
mind, which is like the course, which is why it's one of my favorites out there. Probably my favorite. Where it's like the complete opposite in the sense that it's like, okay, now you got options, which is old
yeah,
Mac. And it's like you could hit it 150 yards in either direction kind of thing on some of these
Pretty
holes
much.
and find your way. And you can run it in from different directions around the green complexes. And, you can do a lot of different stuff around Old Mac. And it's kind of just like this big old playground in that sense, um, which is, yeah, not everyone's cup of tea, but if it's my tea.
Yeah. So
It's a
my
nice
only,
chai tea,
I, so
spicy.
it's a little, yeah, I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, spicy.
Yes.
My overall take from Mac was, I think, unfortunately tainted by the greens. Is my first
Mhm.
time playing Old Mac, and I really want to go back and play it again under much different conditions. The greens on Old Mac on Sunday, we're running earnestly at a 5, maybe. Some greens were slower than that. One green was faster, but I would
Yeah.
say I would say they were a 5. When you have and like my granted, hand up, this one's on me. But if my average first putt was probably 40 feet, impossible, like truly impossible to try to gauge any sort of distance when you have to take what is essentially like a 30-yard pitch shot style length of backswing with a putter. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I had 7 3 putts on the day, um,
Yeah.
8 or maybe 8, I don't know, 7. I mean, I I almost 3 putted half the holes.
Yeah.
I shot an 87 with a 10 on 17.
Oh,
17
yeah.
17 really kicked my ass, dude.
You didn't do yourself any favors on that hole either, though.
Oh,
It
no,
was
I
it
I
was a gong
I,
show for
I hit a
sure.
really bad tee shot, and then I decided to be a hero, and then I just after that didn't work out, I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna play angry and, see how that works out," and spoiler alert,
Yeah.
didn't work
It
out.
doesn't. Yeah.
But, I hit 10 greens, on that course, and, to shoot an 87 with 10 greens, I think that, like, I'm not a great putter. I'm not that bad of a putter. I had 40 putts.
No. I'm a good putter, and I had a slew of putts as well. It was a rough go. I kinda had a hot and cold round personally out there. My front nine, I shot 37. I was chilling.
Oh,
Like,
you were dude,
I hit a
you
slew of
almost hit a hole in
greens, I hit
one
every
on
fairway, I
2
rattled the flag on
or 3
2.
rather, or no, was
Yeah,
it 2?
3.
Yeah, 2.
No, it's 2,
2.
2.
Yeah, 2, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I hit one that climbed down the flagstick and was similar to your par 3 on trails where I had, like, a 4-footer that curled a lot, and
Yep.
you know, when they break that much and they're that slow, it's a it's a real tricky mess, and
Yeah.
so I did not make the birdie, which is a little bit of a sour aftertaste, but I mean, it was still just super fun. I mean, I'm never all that mad about kicking pars. I did birdie 7, which is, like the iconic second shot on that course where you kind of hit up to the infinity green and it looks out over the ocean. It's kind of
Yeah.
like your first peek of the ocean on that course. And that was cool. Hit like just an average drive kind of up the left side, and like it was, because it's up the hill, that angle, it's kind of blind. I kind of walked halfway up the hill just to get an eye on where the pin was, and I hit just an absolute laser right over the top of the flagstick, um, to about 12 feet. But I had this downhill double breaking, I don't know, 15-footer or something. And, there's the ocean in the background. You had stomped off angrily after 3 putting. Logan was over trying to get pictures of the ocean. James was just standing there like, I don't know, grounding or something. He might have taken
Yeah.
off his shoes and was just arms spread wide and like deep inhales through the nose. I don't know. But I hit one of those putts that's just perfect speed, perfect line, just drips over the front edge of the lip. And I was like, yes. And I look around and everybody's like, kind of having their own
Yeah,
experience. And I was
I
like,
was looking for the
sweet
first
man,
I
you
was
were
looking
already
for
on
the
the next
closest
tee
clip.
box. You were on the
Yeah.
next tee box, I'm pretty sure. So that was cool. But story of 2 nines for sure for me, because then uh, hole 9, I kind of made a little bit of a mess of. I made a double that I really shouldn't have. It was a kind of like a bladed bad wedge from the fairway, or not the fairway, but my approach, and just kind of got lazy with it and ended up doubling the hole. But then from there, it kind of pissed me off because I was like, damn it, I've been playing so good. What was that? And I got kind of lazy, and like we've talked a lot about like how to play good golf on our show, and I threw all of that out the window and
Well,
forgot
you made a funny
all
point after the round when you were talking to your wife. You're like,
processes and everything.
I think we all trauma bonded over that
Yeah.
round. Like,
Yeah, it was
it's like part of it was like, yeah, did you throw away some of those process things? Which is like, dude, that was a slog. It was not.
it
I mean,
it got
those
tough
greens
for sure.
really took the life out of everyone. It was so
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. I did birdie 14, which is nice. That's a bright spot, but I had 0 pars on the back 9
That
after
was interesting.
having
That was interesting.
after
Yeah,
shooting like basically, 1 or
lights out.
2 over, lights out on the front. So it was just a bogey barrage. And probably 4 of them were 3 putts. So yeah, it was tough.
One of the
But
interesting things, the most interesting thing about Old Mac that I've never experienced was there is a 700-yard difference between the front 9 and the back 9.
yeah,
That's just
it's a
wild, man.
doozy. It's a doozy. We went home that
Um,
night, and I think it was very quiet. The first night was pretty jovial, and we
yeah,
stayed up and chatted and had a great time. And the second night, it was like lots of mumbles, and people didn't like say like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to bed." It was just like
no, it was just
all of
like,
a sudden, so and so is gone,
yeah,
and then and then the next person was gone, and you're kind of like, well, all right, we're looking
all
around
right.
the house we were staying, and it's like, oh, lights are off. Okay, well,
Guess that's what we're doing
that
tonight.
that was, I think we were, like I said, we were all processing our trauma in one way or another.
I just had a
Uh,
couple. My round was not worth talking about, but 3, what a cool hole, man! Hitting over, you hit over the ghost tree, one of several on the
one of them.
property.
There's so many.
There's so many. I don't know
That's a
why. I don't know how
that's a
anyone could just
terrible
nail it down to one.
yeah, that's a terrible inside joke, but if
Y
you know what, you should just follow
there's
us.
gonna be
You
2
should
other people who know
yeah,
what we're talking about, and that's all we care about.
you know what, but
Uh,
by now you should be following us and you should have seen what transpired.
yeah,
But and get that joke. But if you don't, just know that there's actually a lot of ghost trees
there's quite a
out
few. There's not just the
out
one,
there. And some of them
and I
like
don't even
still
know if we
have
saw the one. Still don't know.
no. Who can say? Yeah.
So I thought 3 was rad, especially kinda coming over that hill and just seeing, like, how, that really, stark kind of dynamic, how the land moves that way is very cool. I thought 6 was a stinky hole. 10 was so boring. Um, 11 and 12 were ridiculously difficult.
Yes.
14 and 15 were ridiculously cool.
Yes.
17 was stinky as well. For
It's not
me
that. Just
personally,
don't hit it where you hit your tee shot.
just
It's not
don't
that
do what
bad.
I did. Don't find all the bunkers and that little pond
Yeah,
off
the
the
one
tee.
pond on the course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't heel wipe it into that pond and then try to hit it out of the water with a long iron and then be up against the face of a bunker and then do that like 3 more times. Don't do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, 18 was cool too. That green is wild. Very cool
Yes.
green. I would love to play
Yes.
that green when they're running at like a decent pace, because that's one of those where you could actually you're like, oh, cool. Like I can see how I could play this to the front left, and it's gonna kind of like ride up like a wave and
Mhm.
finish out, over on the right side where the actual hole is. That was a cool hole.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a fun one for sure. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
next morning, we woke up, had some egg sandwiches, and had courtesy of Chef Nathan over here. They're
Please.
really good. Yeah. I think he's onto something. The Canadian
Yeah. I don't
bacon
know.
egg on English
Somebody.
muffin. Hadn't heard of it
Somebody.
before, but it
Yeah.
was interesting.
I
And so then we
think I'm
played
gonna
the
call him
preserve.
like a chick Micken sandwich or something like that.
We can workshop
I don't
that.
know. I
I
don't
think we
know.
could probably
Yeah,
improve on that.
we'll figure it out. Or not chicken. I was going off a McChicken. It's not a McChicken. It's a
To make muffin. To
McMuffin.
muff
Um,
muff.
Muff
Nope. Never
Micken.
mind. All right.
Nope, that
Nope.
sounds terrible.
Paul Azinger. No, thank you.
We will retract that last 30 seconds of this podcast.
Um, so we played the preserve. So I'm going to say something. So the preserve doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
I to have. I mean, we had.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
We had one hole. It was 11, I think. Was it 11? Maybe it was 7. That played. It played. We had to move up a tee box so that it only played 165.
Yeah. That was
So
rough.
had we been back, it would have been playing like 185.
Yeah.
That doesn't make like that number does not make sense to me on
not with the rest of it for sure.
Well, I mean the first hole was 150. Like and into the wind, I mean, really had to kind of step on it. I mean, we had to go back and get clubs. There were a couple that were like playing well over 150 yards. And I just don't think that embodies what it's supposed to be. And I kind of put it up against like the Cradle. Not that I've played it, but I have a baseline understanding of it. The Hay. Like truly more of a pitch and putt type thing, not like a par 3 course. And I know like technically it's supposed to be a par 3 course, but I just feel like the spirit of it is supposed to be grab a couple wedges, grab your putter, grab a drink, put it in that little sling bag and like go have fun. And you don't really have to think about too much, but like to have to almost carry, have to carry like 3/4 of your irons to be able to like hit the greens. I don't know, man. It just didn't, it just seems a little out of place to me.
I get it. If you want to send hate mail, that's at Fade and Fairway on Instagram.
Good one.
Feel free to send him a message.
I will read all of them. I will read all of them.
Tell us in the comments below on this YouTube video why Tyler is wrong. Actually, you know what? You can tell us why we're both wrong because I do this with every like pitch and putt, par 3, whatever type of course, like the Preserve or the other ones I've played are like Sandbox, out at Sand Valley, or I've not played the Hay or whatever. What was the other one you said?
Cradle.
The Cradle either. But I approach them like I take all of my like earnest striving to be good at golf and to play golf that I normally apply to a round of golf, and I throw it out the window when I go onto courses like that, and I treat it like putt because I just don't. It doesn't do it for me in that way, in the same way that like cosmic bowling, versus real bowling. Like you go out there and you just horse around. So I still only think I had like 3 clubs. And I refuse to use putter most of the time unless I need to, for whatever reason. Like if I can kind of belly a wedge, I'll do that instead. And I just, I don't pay them any mind, which is also why I don't remember these courses all that well when I play them. Yeah. Like I remember kind of like, oh yeah, it was early morning. I think, it's a different experience if you're playing it. Like we were the first group out on the Preserve in the morning. It was cold. It was windy. It was dewy.
It was pretty.
It was pretty out, sure. But it's a totally different vibe if you're like late afternoon, golden kind of sepia toned light and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't remember where I was going with this, but basically I don't really remember those courses. I kind of just go out and treat them like a
putt
chipping practice, putt kind of thing. Like I don't really pay it any mind. They're fun when I do that. But I don't know. I also don't usually do anything all that astronomical because I'm not really paying attention. Yeah. So I also am kind of like meh.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I just think that like especially if they had the idea of shorties in the back of their mind. I don't know when that
Sure.
like came to fruition, but it's just like, man, if I'm thinking
Sure.
ahead, like make a true pitch and putt
Yeah.
that is the whole, like the longest hole is like 90 yards, and then make a
Yeah.
par 3 course. Like don't,
Yeah.
anyway. But it's like, hey, Mike
Yeah.
Kaiser, if you ever want some consulting work, let me
Yeah.
know. I can
You
improve
know,
Bandon for you.
if you
Right now it's a
need
little bit of a dump,
you've
but I
got
think I could
you've
turn it
got
around.
some growth edges or growth opportunities, and
There's certainly
we
some white
feel
space in the
like
market.
yes, and we feel like we could be the people for you. Um,
And
yeah.
our normal rate is, retainers 250 grand. We're $500 an
Let's
hour, but
let's not talk about business, right?
okay,
Just on the podcast like this.
I understand.
Fair enough.
But we'll give
Just
you a deal, Mike.
have your people get a hold of our people, and that's at Fade and Fairway on
So send that
Instagram.
cease and desist to at Thistle Leather Goods.
Yeah.
So the last round we played we were the last group out, which was fun. On Monday, President's Day, on Bandon Dunes, weather was pretty good. So at least for the first 13 holes.
Yeah.
The pace was not. We had some guys in front of us that were
We had
two of the
one
guys
guy in front of us.
Yeah. Two of the guys in the group were cool, and they were trying to play good, ready golf, keep up with the group ahead of them. One of the guys, and I think kind of his buddy to a certain extent, we're the slowest golfers I can remember in recent memory. I mean, this dude, so the first time that we saw him really was on this, was it the second hole? Where he was like lining up a 50-foot putt and he like backed off of it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. After
Or
he
no.
launched his
Oh yeah. No, so the second hole, he like missed a 20-footer and freaked out, made a huge scene, and we're like, oh, this guy's cool. And then it was on 6, that he was like lining up no joke, a 50-foot putt. And stepping off of it, readjusting the line. He stepped off 4 times and he ended up 3-putting. And then he took his time to walk off the green. I mean, it was egregious.
On 2, he tamped down every single inch of his line and still missed it. So I want to describe this person in a way that there is no room for someone to assume like, hey, maybe we can give whiny. The benefit of the doubt. We're just being whiny. Like his playing partners did not like him.
No,
clearly,
not at all.
Tyler said like, oh, they were trying to maintain pace of play. Like these two guys walked off and were like teeing off on the other hole before this dude had finished lining up his putt. And even his partner sometimes kind of was like, well, I'll sort of stroll halfway or whatever. I think they must have had some sort of match going, whatever. But still, that bears no excuse for this man and his behavior. And it wasn't slow play because he was struggling or having a hard day. He actually looked like he was a pretty decent
player. Yeah.
But it was like willful, intentional misuse of time. And every other single person in their group at least would like look back and see us, and we're standing there waiting, and they'd kind of like hang their heads and like kind of bustle along. This dude not once looked back. Matter of fact,
no, he did. He did look back.
He did. Well, yeah, but
to flex on us, to like power trip on us.
Par 3, hole 6, before he lined up that 50-footer, right? Logan and I walk up to the tee. They had just walked off the tee. We were trying to put a little bit of pressure on them because they were like a hole and a half behind. So Logan and I are walking up there while you and James are still putting out, and we're like, hey, we're kind of like, hey, we're here. We didn't say anything, but we're on the tee as they're walking off the tee. The rest of his group proceeds to walk to the green and start to, fix their ball marks, whatever, play her out. This dude stops 50 feet off the tee box on the gravel section of the cart path, parks his little cart, turns to the side, stares at the ocean, whips his dick out, and starts taking a piss. He looks back at us on the tee, dingleberry hanging, peeing in the wind, and gives zero like signal of recognition. Like doesn't even wait, doesn't like wave, doesn't look sheepish, nothing, just kind of looks at us, goes back to staring at the ocean, not a care in the world, then proceeds to walk up to the green where everyone had already putted out and left. He like chats with his buddy, like asking him what he wrote, or like what he got on the card, and then he walks up 50 feet away, lines up this putt, and then three wiggles. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I played really well that day, and and I don't normally play well angry, but I was
Yeah, it
I was
was very
pretty
well.
choked on
We tried
this
to
track.
hop them on 12, and then because there's that drive.
Yeah,
Well, people think it's a drivable par four. There was a little bit of a
it's
bottleneck
not.
there.
Yeah.
And so we tried to hop them, and then we kind of had to we had to
No,
hang our heads and walk back because there was just
a
nowhere to
little bit.
go.
Yeah.
And then yeah, they were just like monumental douchebags. But I
Anyway,
will tell
yeah.
you, after we tried to hop them, all of a sudden their pace improved
How
pretty good.
about that? How
Yeah,
about that? You know what? So, moral of the story is, don't be that guy. Like, you can take your time and look at putts and like step stuff off and be really a really diligent player, but do it while the rest of your group is doing other stuff too. Like, make good use of your time. Don't be a dick.
yeah, that sucked.
That sucked. Which really kind of put a sour note on the round for like Logan and James a little bit, I think, for probably the first 14 holes. Because we were a little concerned about like, hey, are we going to finish? And everybody
Right.
wants to get to the iconic like 16, 17, 18 sort of stretch. And it was their first time playing Bandon, and we had good weather, and we could definitely finish if these dudes weren't in our way, or even just if they were keeping pace with like everyone else on the course.
There wouldn't have been a
So
question if they
yeah,
played like literally 10 minutes, 15 minutes faster, which
yeah,
they were more than, I mean, they probably could have played
yeah,
30 minutes faster.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, we were all a little bit distracted by
Yeah.
that. And I think that for me translated into some good golf. Like I was pissed, but I was also more concerned about that and like really hoping that we could get done in time, so that we could see the whole course for the other guys, and not really paying attention too much to my own golf, which translated to some really good play. Um, I think I had, let me count them up here real quick because I actually kept stats. You'll be proud of me.
Ooh,
I hit 11 greens in regulation that day.
hell yeah.
I had a birdieless 78, which was a pretty, like, I improved every round of the weekend, which was a nice feeling. Um, yeah, and then like a couple of the bogeys were all just like, one was a silly three putt. One of them I hit a poor chip. Yeah, it was actually, excuse me, two of them were three putts. So yeah, had a really good ball striking day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the yeah, I mean, the course is the day as a whole was great. I mean, I shot 81 with 2 3 putts, and I didn't really make a putt all day. Um, but I hit 10 greens. I was jazzed. I hit 14, 10, technically 10 of 13 on the preserve, and then 10 at Bandon. So I mean, like,
Mhm.
from a ball striking perspective, pretty decent. Putting was difficult, but again, I really wouldn't I don't put too much like
Yeah,
weight in that putting performance just because the
definitely
greens
not.
were
Definitely
brutal.
not.
So I think overall, like, I was pretty happy with that. Um, Bandon is such a cool course. I would like to go back, and I'd like to go back and like replay Bandon at my current game, and old Mac, and I
Mhm.
mean, really, I'd like to go play all of them again, like with my current ball
Sure.
striking, and just to see what I could do, um, on greens that are running a little more, like a little quicker and a little much quicker, actually, hopefully, and a little
Yeah,
bit more consistent, because I feel like I could go out and shoot 3 rounds in the 70s like no problem,
for sure.
out there, which I think would be really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I always have a good time out there regardless of, yeah, it was a bummer that the greens were as slow as they were, and that the courses were definitely in the worst shape I've seen them in.
Yeah.
Um, Having been out there, 5 or 6 times, and most of the time in around like the February March kind of time. So um, this is when I've seen the courses, and they're usually better. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer, but I mean I still always have a great time out there. It's just cool to experience. Um, I would say the diversity in course design, the style of play is just different. And obviously it's beautiful out there, Um, so it was a great time for sure. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
love
I
to go
mean, I
back
was
right now.
Bandon is a very special place. Very, very fun. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight. Hey, if you are enjoying the podcast, please do us a favor and rate and give us leave us a review. Give us 5 stars and leave us a
sure.
review on whatever platform you happen to listen to the podcast on. Um,
One thing,
um,
we spent quite a bit of time on the practice range there, and
oh
it
yeah.
would have been kind of neat to have our show sponsor product there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Teeing it
Thank
up for you.
you.
Teeing it up for
Thank you very much. Yeah.
you.
This episode of the Mid Am podcast is brought to you by the fine folks at the Golf Box. Practicing with consistent setup and physical feedback is the best way to improve quickly, and the Golf Box provides the perfect station to do just that. Whether you're looking to stop coming over the top or ripping the club inside on takeaway, which is something that I am currently working on, or you're just looking to groove an on-plane swing with any club in the bag, the Golf Box will be the best tool in your toolbox of improvement. The box isn't just for the long game either. Take it with you to the practice green to groove a consistent putting arc and length of your stroke using the included tees and pre-punched holes in the box. Personally, I love the ruler indicator that is on the box. It helps me set my feet and ball position in a consistent spot every time, so I can kind of drill in where everything should be for maximum consistency when I'm on the course. And the team at the Golf Box has also put together an extensive array of instructional content to show you how to get the most out of your golf box. So be sure to check them out by visiting their website. That's www.thegolfbox. That is www.thegolfboks.com. We will also drop a link in the show notes of the episode so that you can easily navigate to their website. Super cool, very intuitive way to practice. So we're very appreciative of them
Yes.
sponsoring the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, it's officially posting season. So, as of the day of recording, expect to see some, or hear some more kind of on course, you know, information content as we both kind of start getting into the groove of playing and trying to post some scores. The weather has been abysmal.
It's been false
Very wet.
spring. It's is the term I keep hearing this year, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
There's snow on the, got some snow on the ground in the valley in some spots, not my house, but
no,
some
not mine either,
spots.
but no.
Um, so yeah, but the mid-am qualifier is going to be coming up here in less than 60 days. I'm gonna go for it. Gonna try. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I
You'll
want to
qualify.
try.
You'll
Just
qualify.
just want to see, go
I
out
want to
there
be
and
on the
see what I can do.
bag.
That's right.
I got you.
And I think don't hold us to it, but I believe I'm going to be able to get us a videographer to follow us around.
Oh,
Gonna
very cool.
gonna mic Nathan up,
Oh,
um, so that I can
that's
hear him
dangerous.
lament my awful, whatever shots. No, I'm gonna hit really good shots, and
You're gonna hit great
you
shots. You
the
always
whole
hit
time
great shots.
you're gonna be like, wow, damn, what?
You're
Oh my
like,
god,
Tyler,
that was
Tyler,
incredible, dude.
It
Why
doesn't
aren't you
break
on
that way. What are you
why aren't you
doing?
on tour? Oh my god, dude. Have you ever putted in your life?
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's just some stuff that we're planning. And hopefully a lot more as we get into the season. So please share this with your friends that enjoy golf. We're trying to grow this as much as we can so that we can do more. And the only way we can do that is if more folks are listening to us. So please be sure to do that. You can find us on Instagram so that you can share the show with your friends and family at Mid-Am Podcast. You can find me personally at Fade and Fairway. You can find Nathan at
Oh, hey.
Nathan.Furumasu. Look at this guy.
Yeah. I
That's
updated some things. Um, living that influencer life now.
hell yeah, brother.
That's me. I
Brought to
think
you by
I
Squarespace. Not really,
That's right.
but
Brad Davis by Square. Not yet. So yeah, I created a place that I could post all of my, me golfing content rather than sort of my leather goods, which are still cool. And I would love it if you'd follow and
yeah,
engage
he's
with me
still
there.
at
Thistle
Thistle
Leather
Leather Goods as
Goods.
well. But
I'm still doing that, but it just didn't feel quite natural to be posting all just only like stuff of like my golf swing or me practicing in my backyard and all that stuff to my my goods and services page, and so I kind of made something separate. So Nathan.Furumasu, that's Furumasu, and I'm sure it's linked in onto our Mid-Am podcast page too.
yes, it will be. And then last little bit of business. I think next week we will have had the birdie fundraiser hopefully
Yes.
probably kind of sorted
Yes.
out, so we should be able to share some more information on that so that you can jump in on the action and help us reach our fundraising goal of $1,000 this year to help a good cause and help us choose where that money's going to go to. So
Yes.
that should be really fun. So a lot of good fun stuff coming up. We just need the sun to come out and start drying the ground out, and I think we're going to be well on our way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right.
well, hey, thanks again, everyone, for hanging along. We'll talk to you next week.